Hey, everybody, welcome back to another real world request breakdown. So, today we're going to be doing reports and dashboards. So, this is really important because there are so many different avenues of Salesforce, whether that be security or automations or really just anything at all. And reports and dashboards come in because we've got all this data coming into Salesforce. But the data needs to be meaningful. And for that to be meaningful, we need to be able to run reports and dashboards so that business owners and subject matter experts and managers can make meaningful decisions based on the information in the system, whether that's where are our leads coming from, how many of those leads have converted and actually purchased some of our products, how many of those have returned the products that they purchased, how many have gone on to purchase even more products. So there's so much that can be built into reports and dashboards. I mean, so much. It's actually sort of insane and is quite literally endless. I mean, could say there's a finite number to it, but the truth be told, it's really endless and it's just up to you what you want to do with that data. So let's start going through some of these real world requests. So the first thing I want to talk to you about are a couple of tips around reports and dashboards. Number one, when people are sending you requests in the real world, you need to confirm that those requests are actually needed. So sometimes it might be someone who doesn't really know what they're asking for, or they might have a manager who they're sort of trying to go around in order to get a request done that the manager said, hey, we don't really need to spend time doing that. So just be careful about the requests you're fulfilling and make sure that those are actually things that are needed. So the first thing you want to do with any report or dashboard is if you're making significant changes, go ahead and save as. You'll see an option to save as. And what this is the same thing as cloning, but basically you're just making a copy of that dashboard. And that's so that you can make the changes that you think they need. And the same with reports, you can save those as. And then you can share that report and say, hey, does this look sort of what you're looking for? Okay, perfect. And then you can make those changes to the actual original report or dashboard once everything's confirmed. That way you're not accidentally breaking things or you can't quite remember how to go back and fix it the way it used to be. You can always clone it or save as and make a copy of it so that you don't deal with that. And you also are going to have report and dashboard folders, and you can even have subfolders for your reports and dashboards. Organization of these is going to be key. Many companies end up with hundreds, if not thousands, of dashboards and reports. And the truth is, they only use about 10 or 15 of those dashboards. And then with reports, they might use, say, 40 or 50 total reports. But you end up with hundreds of reports that go unused. So keeping those organized so that you can continue to delete those out or put them to an archive folder or something like that, it's key in maintaining your reports and dashboards. And then your sharing settings. So all of your reports and dashboards have the folders themselves have sharing settings on them to say who's allowed to look at them, who can view these reports and dashboards, but then also keep in mind the profile or permission set access, because this is going to define, you might be trying to share an opportunity report with someone, but they don't have access to opportunities. So when they look at the report, they're not going to see anything. So that can be confusing. The same goes with fields. If you have a specific column on a report that you're trying to show and that's a field, but that person doesn't have access to that field, they're not going to be able to see that column. And if it's used as a filter in the report, so say you're filtering on close date, where you only want to look at close dates this month, but that person doesn't have access to the close date field, then the filter won't show for them. And so when you start seeing some weird things in your reports and your troubleshooting, a lot of times it does have to do with security settings for that user. All right, so I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this. These are some actual requests that I have received on reports and dashboards, and we're going to walk through a few so that you can see what you should expect at your day job and what people are really seeing in the real world. So looking at this, we have please remove a user's name from these reports. And they send me a couple of reports. This is super easy. All I have to do is go to the report, add a filter, and say user not equal to this person or owner not equal to this person. Now, this is also a nice place to ask, hey, do you have any additional reports they need to be removed from? Or does this person need to be deactivated? Or did their role or profile need to be changed because they're in a new department now? So this should key you in on maybe some additional changes that might need to be made. So keep that in mind. Anytime you get a request like this, think about the big picture, not just the request. All right, so for scalability, can we filter in a way that works longer term? So maybe we need to remove all of the roles from these reports, like a specific role, or maybe we need to remove people from a specific department from this report. So just keep that in mind, that there may be better scalable solutions. Maybe it's not just this one person needs removed, but it's actually an entire group of people need removed. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind. And as always, clone and confirm the change before saving it. So here's another request. So these are the two reports we use as a source for prospecting. I need to filter it a little better and wanted to see if you can assist. I would like the report to show only the accounts that have had a specific type of case closed between the last 11 and 40 days. So not within the last 10 days, but 11 days ago, all the way back to 40 days ago. So these are recently closed cases, but not too recent. So I hope that makes sense. I have it set right now to pull the last 30 days, but we don't call it unless it's at least 10 days old. So I'm trying to get a 30-day window, basically between 10 days ago and 40 days ago. I would like a column to show the account has one of these particular cases that was opened and the date that it was opened. And if there is no specific one of these cases open, then that case date field should be blank. By doing this, it will tell someone on the team, talk to the customer yet or not. Can you assist with this? And then a couple of different reports. So this is a pretty complicated request. We're going to have to go in and sort of modify some things. But the thing I wanted to point out with this one is some of these interesting date ranges people want to see. So you will have to toy with this and just be sure to test it. And I'll talk about that a little bit in the notes. But sometimes it's like if this were the close date on a case or the open date on a case, you might say, I want to see the close dates on this case, for instance. And you're going to say close date not equal to last 10 days, but then also close date not greater than 40 days, right? So you're going to do some interesting manipulation there, but you want to really look at the report and make sure it's showing what you're expecting it to show before you go showing it to the people who made the request. And so we'll talk about that here. Sometimes things can sound easy. Like you might have read that email and said, Brad, it sounds perfectly simple. I know how to do that. I'll just get it done. But make sure you test repeatedly, sort of think of it the way the end user would think of it, because you don't want to make yourself look bad, especially early in your career. You might get some of these more technical requests for reports, and you just want to avoid making yourself look bad off the bat. And the best way to make yourself look bad is to quickly say, okay, the report's updated, here you go. And it turns out you did it wrong. And now they're confused. And now they don't like this because they have to go back and forth with you because you didn't understand. And you just want to ease the burden for your end users. Think of them as your customer because they basically are. And just treat your customer really well, do all the testing for them. And then when you give them the end result, make it look nice. So here's another example here. Is there a way to eliminate $0 sales from this report? It distorts the averages for the sales. Makes perfect sense. Average sell amount, $2,700, but we've got all these zeros in here. So these aren't actually, sales, or what, for some reason, these $0 amount, they might be giveaway, they might be trials, whatever it is. But we don't want that distorting the average sell. So the average sell is much higher than 2,700. We've got all these zeros. This is simple. All we have to do is add a filter, amount greater than 0, problem solved. So this is an example of a very easy but very meaningful change that you can make to a report. As always, confirm that this needs to be done. Does anyone else use these reports? So for instance, maybe finance uses these reports and they like to see how many trials or giveaways we did. So we need to make sure that no one else is using this report that might like it the way it is. And we might need to make a copy of this report for the person making the request so that they can have it the way they want it and somebody else can have it the way they want it. So just keep that in mind. You do affect people when you make changes. Make sure you know who you're impacting before you just make changes because it makes logical sense. All right, I created a report for one of our newer sales team members. That person and I were able to access it, but I was wondering if it's her credentials that is not allowing her to access. So there must be some other person, the sales team members. So a couple of administrative type people were able to access the report, but they're wondering if this newer sales member maybe has some credential issues. So we talked about this in the intro of this video. This could be a number of things. It could be they don't have access to that object. They don't have access to specific fields in that report. They don't have access to the report folder that the report is shared in. So any number of those things could be the issue. So going here, again, It could be folder security, but share for scale and be careful. So you might say, well, that person's in this particular role, so let me just share it to everyone in that role. But that's not always the right answer, right? Because it might be that this is very specific to this one person about their performance or how they're doing or the opportunities that they have in their pipeline or what they could be doing better. And this report is maybe showing some of their flaws. And it's important not to just share it with a lot of people. This might be something singular for this person. So just keep your folder sharing in mind, the way you build these things. And it really is a huge part. And this is just a glimpse into some of the report and dashboard requests that you're going to get. And this is what you will see in the real world. So if you're used to working in Trailhead and you're thinking, I don't really know how this is going to apply or how these reports and dashboards are going to apply, this is the type of stuff you're going to see. People probably creating their own reports a lot of times and then asking you for a small change or to help polish it off because they couldn't quite figure it out. And there are many nuances to reports, but these are just a few examples of how you might see those in the real world. As always, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share these videos if they're bringing you value so that they can bring value to other people. And then like and comment because this really helps boost the views of the video. YouTube shares these more immediately and sort of gives it a multiplier effect when it sees a lot of likes, comments, and shares happening to videos. And then, of course, if you're not already taking the 5-day challenge, but you're interested in starting a Salesforce career, make sure you check that out over at talentstacker.com/Salesforce. As always, thanks for watching these real world videos, and I hope that they are proving valuable for you.